Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Southwest Connections, our campus-based show that introduces you to the many wonderful people that make Southwest the great place it is. I'm Bill Mulso. I'm the host of our show, and let's meet our guest for this week. Our guest today is Melissa Scholten, Director of Career Services here at SMSU. Welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Bill.
Melissa, tell us a little bit about your personal background and what brought you back to Southwest.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm returning back to SMSU. I attended as an undergraduate. I graduated in 2007, went on to graduate school, and then was living in Kansas City for about a number of years, I guess we'll just say that, and returned to SMSU in 2016 to serve as the Director of Career Services here.
Had you been in the career services career field prior to coming here?
Yeah, so all of my background is in higher education for the most part, and had worked in career services specifically for about 5 years before coming back to SMSU, and now have been back at SMSU in career services for the last 5 years.
Good. So tell us a little bit about career services. It's a pretty broad title area. There are a lot of different things that you and your team offer for our students. So tell us a little bit about some of those things, and we'll maybe go into depth on some of them as well.
Yeah, so I always say that career services is kind of any career-related question that students might have while they're at SMSU. We work closely with our faculty as well as the students and the programs to identify best ways to work with the programs and continue serving both our students and our faculty while they're working their way through their programs. So every program is set up a little bit differently. I know we'll probably cover some of that as well, but we are a great place to start when you've got questions that might relate to your careers, and we'll direct students back to their programs when those questions are better answered there by their faculty or their advisors as well. So students might have questions. We'll just kind of give a broad idea of what types of questions students have. Questions about what to do with their major, or maybe sometimes students come to SMSU and they might not be sure about what major they want to select. So we assist students with that process as well, all the way to looking for internships, preparing resumes, cover letters, prepping for mock interviews. And then we have a number of students that go on to graduate or professional school after studying at SMSU. About 10% of our graduates go on to graduate or professional school directly after studying. And so we help with that process as well.
So when do you recommend students get involved with you first when they get to campus?
Hopefully as soon as possible, which we're set up in a really nice way. We work with all of our LEP 101, so our first year experience courses with students, and we work with their faculty kind of however they're wanting to build in careers to that part of their first step onto campus. So most students should hear from me or someone in my office as soon as they get to SMSU, which is great for getting connected with our students right away, which is exactly what we want.
So you alluded to the fact that a lot of students come onto the college campus for the first time, and they're really not sure what they want to pursue from a major standpoint and even a career. So how does your office help them explore some of those opportunities and kind of navigate that challenge?
Yeah, so starting with those first year experience classes that I mentioned, those are great spots for students to kind of hear a little bit more about what career services is, what opportunities and support services we have available to students. Many of those classes also elect to build in a career assessment to that course called Clifton Strengths for Students. And so students have an opportunity to kind of try and take one of those assessments, learn more about themselves, get to know themselves a little bit better. And then from there, they can also decide to work more around that particular assessment or any of the other assessments we have in our office. We offer 3 that are in-office based, like Clifton Strengths for Students, and there's 2 others. I won't go into a lot of detail around that, but we've got 2 others that are ones that students would need to see myself in office for, or again in the presentation, and working through their class and their professor, or Focus 2, which is another assessment that's available for students to take online. So they can do some work around assessments, kind of get us started there. To me, assessments are always a starting place, not an ending place. So they're helping students generate ideas for things that they might want to study, can help confirm things that they might already be interested in, but that should also always lead to a lot more research, more next steps, and then of course really trying on a variety of things, whether it's taking a lot of different classes or getting out and getting some hands-on experience either through volunteering, through shadowing, and hopefully obviously through internships too.
So a lot of students know that they need to get started on a resume, and that's an important part as they start to embark on a career and a job search. What tips do you have for students about creating, maintaining, and then actually effectively using their resume while they're a college student?
Yeah, so our suggestions, again, kind of like everything, we really want you to start on it early. We want students to be thinking about what additions they would make kind of on a semester by semester basis. It's kind of a good way to take stock of what you did through your classes. A lot of our classes build in some of that hands-on learning throughout your time at SMSU. So kind of what did you do? Where did you go? So you can keep track of that information. Of course, just keeping a really nice comprehensive resume is probably one of my biggest suggestions for students, so that they have things written down, they have things ready to go as they get ready to apply for internships, for scholarships, for applying for full-time jobs or other professional opportunities. They have it ready to go, and they can kind of move things around the way they want to and have it ready to go with a little bit less stress, so that they're not scrambling at the last minute. So similar to the work that we do with LEP and our first year experience classes, some of that resume component, building resumes, a lot of that's built into a lot of classes that students are taking on campus. So they get kind of helpful nudges, reminders, assignments due to have their resumes done and up to date to also kind of help students continue to think about doing that. And we have another resource that we've been using. We started last year and we're using it more broadly this year. It's a artificial intelligence resume and interviewing prep software. So gives students an opportunity to really prepare and make sure that their documents are going to be successful as they approach applicant tracking software. So that's a software that a lot of employers might use to capture a student's application and prepare it. And so having them have that front end view of it, making sure that they're getting that feedback on their documents, as well as some of that interview preparation, is helpful to kind of see great places to practice and work. And then that funnels them back to both the professor and career services to continue doing prep for it. So as far as that goes, making sure that students, of course, are preparing early, getting stuff done, maintaining it early, but also getting that feedback and direct information for their documents as they're getting ready to submit it too.
So the resume process is really an ongoing throughout their entire career here.
It is. And it won't stop when they're done.
That's right. How has it changed from, you talked a little bit about, artificial intelligence in that a little bit. How much work do you do with students on things like LinkedIn and some of the social media tools that are out there, and the value that can play in their job search?
Yes, definitely. So as far as LinkedIn goes, highly recommend it. It's certainly a great opportunity for students to be able to search and apply for jobs. It's one of the tools I would suggest for students to use as part of their job search. I'm sure we'll talk about others shortly, but making sure that is prepared and up to date. One of the biggest things students can do to make sure that they're putting together a nice, strong LinkedIn profile is make sure that they've already done a lot of that work on their resume. So it's easier to create and maintain their LinkedIn profile once they've kind of already done that resume building process as well.
So the resume process is a big part of it. What are some of the other programs and services that you provide for students as they kind of prepare on this journey in this career search?
Yeah, so we've talked about a couple of them from our career assessments and the product and the artificial intelligence software that we use to help prepare students with their resumes and some interviewing prep as well. We also provide students with resources like Candid Career and What Can I Do with This Major? Really helpful, kind of going back to that, preparing for what career exploration or major exploration that they can do as a part of choosing some paths that make sense to them with their major and their career interests too. So those are a number of them that would be available for students. The Candid Career site is thousands of video interviews of professionals who work in various fields. It connects students back to really reputable resources for learning more about a career field, what to expect as far as how much education you might have. I know I mentioned about 10% of our students go on for additional education after graduating. And so, and then of course, what opportunities are there for when students complete with a 4-year degree, which 90% of our students go on to work. So it's a much larger number in that sense too. We also have Handshake, which is a resource for connecting students to employers. local employers as well as nationwide and international employers, and another resource called Going Global, which connects our students both domestically and internationally to a number of opportunities.
So a number of our programs require internships, most strongly encourage them. What role does your office play in that internship process for students, whether it be searching or actually completing internships?
Yeah, so it all depends on the program. Like you mentioned, it kind of differs by program based on what they're looking for. Some programs have a real, like say the School of Education, for instance, that process is very structured, and the student teaching is matched and paired in that way. Other programs are kind of provide the outline, and students should go forth and find that internship. If that's the case, what we do in that sense would be helping students identify where would they want to complete their internship, what are their requirements, helping them understand kind of what the process would be. And again, that's going to be tailored to the student because every student is different. Some students want to intern through the academic year right here in Marshall, which is great. Some students want to intern in the summer, also great. Some students are looking at different locations too. So it all depends on what the student's looking for and making sure they know all the options available to them, as well as even if they say X, Y, or Z, we're going to make sure that they know all the options available to them, both Marshall and regionally and locally too. So kind of letting them know that process. So it goes from what are they doing, where are they looking, what's that process, how do they go about finding those opportunities, are there connections that can be made through our office? Do we have contacts using Handshake, using LinkedIn, using Going Global, encouraging students to attend our career events on campus or the ones that are held virtually too, and making sure that students know all of the options available to them. And of course, making sure that that resume is all ready to go, the LinkedIn is all ready to go so that when they're ready to apply and have those cover letters reviewed so that they're nice and targeted to what they're applying for and ready to go and make the best first impression that they possibly can.
So you talked about some resources here on campus. Job fairs are an obvious one that probably the people are the most familiar with. What opportunities we provide for job fairs here on campus, and what opportunities outside of SMSU do our students have access to?
Yeah, so we host 3 campus career fairs every single year. We host one in August, one in September, one in February. So August is our part-time job fair and volunteer fair. We also have employers who are looking for volunteers for various nonprofits. We have our agriculture career fair, which is close to our agriculture industry in the area, but many of the employers will hire accountants, human resources, things like that as well. And then we have our Mustangs meetup fair that's in February. So that's all majors, all industries. That's what we host there. And then we also promote a number of different career fairs. Some of them, especially in recent years, have been virtual. Prior to that, we also had more specified fairs that happen for career fairs that were virtual, and we post the ones that are would be relevant to our students, share those out. And then we have a couple of fairs that happen up in the Twin Cities that are a part of professional associations that our office is connected to, and we encourage students to attend those as well. So lots and lots of different opportunities. Like I said, the last few years have provided a lot of virtual options, including just ongoing information sessions and employer outreaches that students can have directly through Handshake too.
So you mentioned Handshake. Let's talk about the Handshake platform, because
Yes.
it's a great resource not only for our students but also for regional employers. Tell us a little bit about how that works and how it benefits both sides.
Yeah, so a Handshake, like I mentioned before, is how our students connect to employers. It's where we post part-time jobs, full-time jobs, and internships for our students and as well as our alumni. Our alumni have access to the career office and our services too beyond graduation. It's where employers would post an opportunity for our students to have access to and apply. It's a great place for us to make sure that students are connecting to. We can directly email students who qualify for those particular positions to make sure that students are seeing opportunities that are a good fit. Students can follow along with employers that they're interested in, so they can kind of keep an eye out when a new opportunity posts at a company they're interested in. They will get like a little notification email and make sure that they are checking in there as well. It provides our students lots of benefits. It was a great place to just like directly go, great news feed, updates, all sorts of things that would be relevant to them. The events that I mentioned, it's how they register for our career events when they're going to those in person. it's the platform that held all of our virtual fairs last year that we had, and it connects them to both our local employers, of which there are a lot. It's great. I did a zip code search recently, and it was pretty impressive because we've only had this particular software for a few years. So it's great to see everything has connected there and made the connections too. And then it also allows our students to search regionally as well as nationwide too. For our employers, one of the really great benefits is that most schools, universities in Minnesota are using Handshake. So what that does is it allows our employers to create one login and be able to not have to kind of like recreate the wheel every time they go somewhere else too. So kind of creating that familiarity for our recruiters so that they know, that they can log in, kind of decrease hassle, I guess, is one of the biggest benefits. And that familiarity is really helpful for employers to be able to get in there and create access to those opportunities, which in turn also creates another benefit for our students is that there's more employers in Handshake who are familiar with it too.
So what types of things do you and your team have to do to stay engaged with those employers? I know there's a lot of them out there, and everybody's looking for employees right now.
Yeah.
So how active do you have to be in kind of keeping them engaged on our front?
Yeah, so it's a good question. We, again, just kind of similar to what we do with students, is we work with employers on a variety of different things that they might be interested in. We have a whole menu of different opportunities for our employers to use to connect with our students. Ranging from, of course, always wants employers to be posting in Handshake so that we can make sure that students are seeing that opportunity because they know to go there. But it also allows us to be able to share things out on our social media with like a direct post that students know exactly where to go, how to apply, how to make sure that they have contact too. So, and we do a lot of work with employers. Like you said, a lot of people are hiring right now, which is, really great for our students, but I know it causes a lot of, stress for our employers too, which certainly understand. And so I want to make sure that they know the best ways to get engaged and connect with our students, which, we're open for information tables, information sessions, on-campus interviews, of course, our job fairs, connecting with students. We have a whole employer guide to make sure that employers know about all the process and different ways that we can work with them. There are different opportunities sometimes for classroom presentations or class presentations too, in addition to kind of a standalone information table. So scheduling meetings with the employers, talking with them, if they have a visit coming up, kind of walking through what that process is, how to get engaged, and then of course the follow-up too. So, of course, when you come to campus, you meet with students. You might meet students who are going to be, perfect fit for right now, but you also might meet students who are perfect fit for like down the road or that upcoming internship for the summer and things like that. So working with them in an individual manner based on what they're looking for and trying to connect them to the opportunities and the students that they're most interested in seeing too. So of course, we lean heavily on our Handshake because it can kind of help us target in, but we also we work closely with our faculty members who would have students who would be the right fit for those employers as well.
So we're quite proud of our employment statistics. 99% is a pretty impressive number. It's hard to be much better than that. Tell us a little bit about that number, what it means, and what it means also with the Mustang Promise that we offer our students here at SMSU.
Yeah, so our students do well after graduation. I think that's the biggest takeaway for the 99%. And I think it's a really great opportunity for us to highlight what happens with our students after graduation. To me, it's always been a indicator of how the university does for preparing our students, connecting them along the way, and ensuring that they are, they're really having a good experience at SMSU. So that's always first and foremost what I think about when I think about that number for our students. Students are engaged. They get really great access to our faculty members. They can build those relationships. And there's a lot of support for students as they get ready to leave and graduate and move on and find those professional opportunities or go on for graduate and professional school. We also have students who do year of service after graduating, which is, of course, going to include applications and things of that nature. So to me, I think that that's just really a point of pride for both, of course, our office who collects that information and kind of gets to see some of that final step through the process too, but of course for the university. So Mustang Promise talks a little bit more about that, formalizes some of that information for our students. students have an opportunity to, of course, participate in that program, complete the pledge that goes along with the process, and try and start thinking about and getting connected to that process right away. So it puts in a few more steps for students to make sure that they are really connecting with our office, really connecting with their faculty and their advisors to make sure that they are taking advantage of utilizing all the resources available to them. And it states that they would secure a full-time job or acceptance to graduate professional school within 6 months of graduation. So it takes it another step further based on what they would do to prepare to get to those final next steps for themselves.
It's a great program and something we're quite proud of.
Yes.
So, you do a lot on campus. Career service is not just one of them, so don't want to slight you on the other side, but it really ties in with what your office is encouraging for students to be successful. You manage the Center for Civic and Community Engagement. Tell us a little bit about why civic engagement is so important on our campus and what role you play with kind of shepherding that area as well.
Yeah, so the Center for Civic and Community Engagement, always kind of a little bit of a mouthful there, but it is a place where students can connect to volunteer opportunities those are posted in Mustang's Volunteer powered by Handshake. So it's the same Handshake I was talking about before. It allows our students to get engaged. Many of our students already volunteer as high school students or ways that they were involved in their community if they're returning to us as adult learners as well. And so kind of making sure that we're making those connections for students to be involved as well. The civic engagement component also kind of entails our voter engagement and making sure there's it entails a number of different things. So kind of try and hit the high notes on some of the initiatives we've had over the last few years too. So we've also had, the acronym is SEEP. So it's a nonpartisan fellowship program that we had last year where during the 2020 election, we had two students who were engaged with voter education, voter registration, as well as get out the vote activities on our campus. Sorry, it takes me back a little bit to think about it. And then what they would do is they provide information about candidates, where students can find information, how they get registered to vote, things of that nature too. And so it's just a great way for students to have a peer to talk to, help them answer some of the questions that they might have. Where do I go? How do I do this? Students are in kind of a unique situation where there's a lot of options for, do you maintain registration back home, wherever home might be? If you're local, obviously that doesn't affect you. But then, all sorts of different things, like where do you get information, things of that nature. So that's something civic engagement related that we've also done recently. And then we, of course, have our Mustang Market too. I was trying to think about it.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. So Mustang Market's
yeah.
a pretty impactful program that started a couple years ago. And tell us a little bit about Mustang Market.
Yeah, so Mustang Market is a food and resource pantry available for our students on campus. So they have access once a month to do any shopping. It's essentially an opportunity for students to kind of stretch the limited budgets they might have while they are working and going to school. A number of our students already have part-time jobs, but there's only so many hours in a day. So if you're also going to school, you don't have a whole lot of opportunity to be working outside of that time too. So it's just an opportunity for students who might need a little extra by way of groceries or hygiene items to be able to pick some things up. And it really just helps that budget stretch exponentially for our students.
And the Mustang Market really is supported a lot by outside sources. So if individuals or businesses wanted to support that program, how they go about doing that?
So there's a number of different ways to do that. First, thank you so much to all of our supporters. We've had really great community support for the program, generous physical and monetary donations to help sustain it. And best ways to do that is there is a spot on our website that just says how how you can help. And so there's great places for, how to contact me for if you want to drop off a physical donation. There's also ways to donate monetarily and support in that way for campus folks too. We also have great ways for, faculty including information for their students and their syllabi too. So there's just a really wide range of options for people to get involved.
Very important resource that we can provide for our students, and I know it's had a lot of positive impact on students' lives while they're here. So one last question for you, Melissa. If you could tell a prospective student and their family why SMSU is the place for them, what would it be?
Wow. Well, that's great. Sorry, I feel on the spot with that one. I love it. It's hard to boil it down. So, it's all the personal connections is what I always think about. What I shared about getting connected to your faculty, what I shared about that connecting to our Mustang promise and our outcomes, I think is not something you find at every university. So being able to know your professors on a first name basis, being able to know support staff that you see in the hallways, being able to know your classmates and people around campus really well. I think that is unique to SMSU. Making those connections is really what I think sets SMSU apart from other schools that students might be looking for. As an alum myself, I obviously have a pretty strong bias towards SMSU. I had a great experience at SMSU, and those connections really were things that I, as an alum, think back to my time as a student, being on other campuses, working in other institutions. That really is unique to SMSU, and I think it's the biggest positive that I can think of.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, a reminder that there are a lot of activities going on campus now as we transition from the fall season into some of our winter schedules. I'd encourage you to go online and check out all the opportunities here. You can go online at smsu.edu and be sure to follow us on our social media channels at SMSU Today. Once again, thank you to Melissa Scholten, our Director of Career Services here at SMSU, for joining us. Tune in again in 2 weeks when I'll be joined by Dean Jeff Bell from the College of Arts, Letters, and Sciences here at SMSU. Thanks for watching.